Hello, it is I, the Robozoid, your semi-likable and occasionally tolerable curmudgeon of the Rumble and YouTube airwaves, and once again, still dressed the same way I was before because, well, I only shot that other video today. But nevertheless, I wanted to talk also about this, the merger between Paramount and Warner Bros., because it seems that Netflix was actually outbid for Warner Bros. Services, and this has to do with a company called Skydance, something like that. No, not Skynet, the company that made all those Terminator machines. Although I'd still be on the lookout for those things, what with AI and all. But seriously, we have to talk about this whole thing because now you've got various news outlets, like let us say PMS Now, and of course, the Crescent News Network, CNN. They're worried that they're going to have to end up being more like Fox News or Fox Noise if they're taken over or bought by a huge conglomerate or billionaire deal makers. Because the deal they had had already gone through between Paramount and Warner Brothers, and that's why they outbid Netflix for Warner Brothers. I'm not really against the merger, and I'm going to get into that as part of the video. But first, what do you say we take a look at this little whining session here between both Brian Seltzer and, of course, the department store dummy with no genitals, and what was his name? No, not Andy Blooper. He brags too much about what he does with his genitals. I meant Wolfie Blitzer, if we hear from him at all. So without further ado, what do you say we get right into that?
But I can tell you, Ellison has talked in recent months about how he wants to sustain the news business in the United States. And he's talked about his belief that, quote, the majority of the country longs for news that is balanced and is fact-based. And Wolf, that sure sounds a lot like CNN's mission. A lot of similarities. His Paramount's attempts to put on a Trump-friendly face in recent months have led to Democratic accusations of corruption and promises of future investigations. Paramount is a complicated place right now, though. Yes, CBS canceled Stephen Colbert's show, but Paramount also renewed Trump critic Jon Stewart and renewed the Trump skewering South Park comedy. At CBS News, new editor-in-chief Barry Weiss
they don't skewer Trump as much as they skewer you Democrats.
Was critical of the Trump administration. But she also greenlit that very same story a few weeks later and expressed regret about the controversy. CBS News continues to break hard-hitting stories about the Trump administration and other topics. And Weiss has told confidants that she has not felt pressure from Paramount to change the political direction or the orientation of CBS News. So it is
well, nobody asked and nobody told, Brian.
Applying scrutiny to this, but it's also fair to say Paramount's a complicated place, trying to figure out how it navigates
the department store dummy with no genitals.
In the last few minutes, the California AG Rob Bonta went a little further. He said, I'm in conversation with my AG colleagues about Paramount. What he's saying is that he's talking to other states about possibly joining forces to try to block the deal. It is possible for some states to try to do that, although they don't have as much power as the federal government in order to accomplish that. So that is the big unknown now. But I am told Paramount...
You serious?
You see? That's what they're afraid of. CNN, the Crescent News Network, and PMS Now are concerned that if they get bought by a major company, like let us say Paramount or Warner Brothers or anything like that, well, they're going to have to shift gears, and they're actually going to have to do something that they really hate to do, and that's go fair and balanced. That's not something they want. They don't want to be fair and balanced because they don't want to be anything like fixed news, and they sure don't think that you're smart enough to see behind any of their deceptions. Because, remember, they already fired Stephen Colbert, and good for them that CBS got rid of Stephen Colbert. Yes, they still have Jon Stewart, and yeah, of course, MS Now got rid of the hemorrhoid with ears. What was her name? Joyless Reed? Yeah, they got rid of her, but nevertheless, you've got these other people who are still there at CNN and PMS Now, and they do not want to play ball with the whole merger. They don't want to go fair and balanced because that's the last thing these people would want.
Warner Movies or HBO, and who will own CNN. The Netflix CEO was at the White House today discussing their interest in closing their deal. They'd put up many billions, but they've been beat out. This is an outcome that Donald Trump and many MAGA allies view as favorable. It continues on the clashes over Colbert and CBS. The folks who own CBS now are winning and gearing up to take control of Warner Media empire, including CNN.
After all, Paramount and Warner Bros. Both together had produced Howard Stern's movie Private Parts, and also South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. So it's not like the merger with Paramount and Warner Bros. Would be anything new.
So we have some breaking news internationally that affects everybody I'm looking at right now in the studio. Moments ago, Netflix said it is declining to raise its offer for the purchase of Warner Brothers Studios and HBO, following the Warner Brothers Discovery Board's determination that Paramount, which is not just going for Warner Brothers Studios and HBO, but also the whole enchilada, including us here at CNN, Paramount has submitted a superior offer, according to Warner Brothers Discovery's board. As I've noted, Warner Brothers Discovery is the parent company of CNN. So let's get right to CNN Chief Media Analyst.
You know, if you guys got bought by Disney, you wouldn't have to worry about changing anything. They're propagandists too.
Brian Stelter. So let's start with the question, why did
More
Netflix
of this guy?
walk away? Ted Sarandos and others at Netflix made it very clear they really wanted Warner Brothers Studios and they really wanted HBO.
Right, in this corporate tug of war, it seems Netflix has suddenly let go of the rope. There's a lot, of course, that could still happen here, but the big news this afternoon is that Paramount suddenly is in a much stronger position to take over CNN and the rest of the Warner Bros. Discovery company, which includes HBO and the Warner Bros. Movie Studio and all those other assets. Paramount is the company that essentially put this into play last summer. New CEO David Ellison, shortly after taking over Paramount, CBS, that part of the media world, then set his sights on WBD. And WBD CEO David Zaslav started a bidding war as a result. He sided with Netflix, the WBD board sided with Netflix for a deal that had been struck back in December, but Paramount had then launched a hostile takeover bid. And in recent days, Paramount had negotiations with WBD and raised the offer to $31 per share with a bunch of sweeteners that made the deal more appealing, more palatable to WBD. So in the last few hours, we've heard from WBD that it is siding with Paramount, and is walking away from the table. There's two elements of this bid. Number one, the deal is no longer financially attractive, so we are declining to match the Paramount bid. But number two, Ted Sarandos, the co-CEO of Netflix, was at the White House for meetings today, and I'm told by a source he left the White House in a not very happy mood. There's a lot more reporting to do about that aspect of the story. We don't know anything from the Netflix side about the White House meetings. But
that's not surprising. You don't know anything at all.
Right now, and it is possible that Netflix has been given signals from the White House that the regulatory roadblocks were going to be too severe for the Netflix deal to get through. Bottom line, Paramount now takes the lead in this ongoing race to take over Warner Brothers. There are still other regulatory hurdles for Paramount, but it's a big, big change now and a big success for Paramount to have Netflix say it's walking away. And there's lots of caveats, Jake. You know, Netflix says it's walking away.
That's only because DC lost Warner Brothers lost a lot of money on those DCU movies.
Right now to take over CNN.
Explain what you mean. You said M&A walks through the M&A moves through the White House. That's mergers and acquisitions. Explain exactly what you mean by that. You're saying that President Trump has to sign off on any one of these deals now if they're big enough.
His government does, right? His administration, historically, the FCC, in this case, it's the DOJ, the Justice Department, that would sign off. And the DOJ is currently reviewing the Netflix deal that apparently fell apart in the last few minutes. We know that President Trump's taken a very personal interest in this particular deal, however. He has said that it's, quote, imperative that CNN be sold, given that he doesn't like the current owners of CNN. And he has met with the CEOs involved.
Who does?
It's a big change from past presidents who have left the DOJ alone to this subject and let antitrust experts take the lead. Trump has been very involved. And so there's a lot more reporting to be done about what he's been doing in recent weeks when it comes to this deal. And I know people have understandable concerns about what an ownership change might mean for CNN. Paramount's a complicated place right now. It's a company where Stephen Colbert is being pushed out at CBS, but also where South Park skewers President Trump and where Jon Stewart still speaks truth to power. John Oliver as well. It's led by a CEO, David Ellison, who's worked hard to forge a relationship with Trump, but who also donated $1 million to Joe Biden's re-election campaign.
Just when I think you've said the stupidest thing ever, you keep talking.
But you see, that's why CNN is so concerned about the merger between Paramount and Warner Bros. Because, as it turns out, well, that deal also includes, well, Viacom also, the parent company for Paramount, actually does also own CNN. So what would this mean for the merger? It would mean that, of course, CNN's anchors would have to go fair and balanced. Last thing they want to do, because they're not credible journalists. They're not credible journalists. They're certainly not news anchors. They are propagandists, pure and simple. So that's what they're so concerned about. That's what's got them all huffy and puffy and all boohoo, whining and crying about the fact that they might have to do some honest reporting as opposed to the propaganda that they have been spewing for the last God knows how many years. That's what they're the most concerned with.
They would be so damn concerned about what they would consider a hostile takeover, since Netflix failed to win over Warner Bros. And was outbid by Paramount. So, yeah, that would mean that CNN would have to fall under the boot of, let us say, Viacom and Paramount's rules, and basically play their game and toe their line, which is essentially be more fair and balanced, be more centrist, respect the people, respect the viewers, and that's not something that CNN is prepared to do. But then again, neither would PMS now. They certainly don't want to play along with the game.
So I guess now you know why they're all huffy and puffy and worried so much that Warner Brothers and Paramount, they're just going to make CNN have to toe the line and play their game and say, hey, you got to be more centrist. You got to be more fair and balanced. Otherwise, people are going to quit watching you. Not that it matters at all. I mean, nobody watches CNN right now anyway. Nobody is watching fake crapper. Nobody is watching the department store dummy with no genitals. And they're certainly not paying attention to bald-headed Brian Stelter. Or Seltzer Man. Why should they? Don't forget, this was the same news network that ended up firing Don Lemon because of his inaccurate reporting. And, well, as you know, Don Lemon is, well, facing serious charges against him for invading a church service with his band of misfits and thugs and dope addicts which was violating the FACE Act. So, I don't think I need to get into that house of cards again, and I'm not going to knock it down one more time. But you get the idea here. This is exactly why the merger is probably going to take place. Because when you have lunatics like, let us say, obviously, Jon Stewart, who is anything but honest. I mean, the guy's a total bug job. I mean, this is the same guy who smashed his own little... Who cut his own precious little hand trying to smash a coffee cup, I think. So, yeah, because it just showed that he wasn't made of sterner stuff. And you know something? Neither is CNN at this point. Well, this has been the Robozoid for pointing out this stuff and seeing if you were all paying attention. Because the theme of this video was just meant to have fun and not really get into the serious stuff. There'll be plenty of time for that. So until then, if you like what you saw, hey, smash that like button. Subscribe to both channels on YouTube and Rumble. And, of course, remember the handle over on Rumble now is @Robbie1976. It's still the same over on Rumble. And, of course, remember that, wokeness is weakness and all that other stuff, yada, yada, yada. Don't drink the Kool-Aid or the soy. They're nothing but poison. And remember... be here or just join CNN's crew and be nowhere, because that's exactly where they're headed.